What is up, guys? It is the Bluebloods, and we are coming back at you with another episode today, March 17th, 2021. Man, it's great to have y'all here. Y'all seem to be enjoying these 2 minute drill episodes, and I absolutely love doing these for y'all. Keep interacting, man. Keep subscribing. I will be putting out episodes, like I said, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So as long as y'all listening and y'all enjoying them, these are going out. Man, but let's go ahead and get started. We are on the recruiting trail today, and we got spring practice starting all across the country. So we got some spring storylines that are going to be coming up in these next few episodes. But let's get right into it. Another 5 star, another one going to Bam. I mean, look, as I mentioned when we were breaking down the 5 star Ty Simpson's commitment, the rich continue to get richer here. Nick Saban, the Alabama Crimson Tide, land another 5 star commitment in Emmanuel Henderson. I mean, he's their second 5 star of this class. It moves them to 14th overall, fourth in the SEC, and that's only with 5 commitments. And their average player rating is just below what it was last year when it was about a 95 at a 94.6. I mean, that's an outstanding. I mean, you're getting an A plus player on average for this class already, and it's headlined by big positions: running back, quarterback. They already got some O line in there, and let's get down to Henderson. I mean, he's the 28th ranked overall player in the entire class. He's the second highest ranked running back, the second highest ranked player in the state of Alabama. He has decent size, 6'1", 185. I would expect his weight to go up his senior year, so he's probably going to get to Bama closer to probably 200, 205. And who knows if he can grow a little bit more. I mean, we're talking about these were his junior measurements. And, he's a 3-sport athlete: football, basketball, track, and field. He was third team All-State in basketball, ran an 11.4 100-meter dash as a sophomore in terms of track. And in football, he's rushed for over 3,400 yards, 52 rushing touchdowns, had almost 500 receiving yards and 4 receiving touchdowns. And that's only in his first 2 years of high school football. So I would imagine that the usage and ability to understand the playbook and make dynamic plays will just only go up from here. So he's had an amazing start. I think this kid is hyper talented. His number one quality, though, I think he doesn't have elite breakaway speed, anything like that, but his number one quality is the vision and his ability to explode through the hole, make those backdoor cuts, and he's very patient in terms of what his running ability is for a young kid. And I think that's going to go a long way. I mean, listen, I feel like that's one of the underrated aspects of someone like we've seen in Najee Harris, where he's very patient. He doesn't just run straight to the back of his offensive linemen. He can kind of stutter step, wait for a hole. He waits to see what the defense does, and he makes you pay that way. He isn't just hitting the hole randomly, the first thing that pops up in his sight. He is very calculated in where he runs, and that's one of the reasons why he's so successful and is about to be a first-round pick. You see it already early in Henderson, and I think that is a quality that I think Nick Saban and this staff fell in love with, and that's why they had to get him on early. Listen, in terms of what I guess Alabama has right now in terms of running back, we've talked about Najee Harris going to the NFL draft, but they returned Brian Robinson this year. He's a senior. He's going to be the senior leader, probably odds-on favorite to take that RB1 role, but they go in past years, outside of Najee, they've kind of went to a by committee approach, and you got Jace McClellan, you got Roydell Williams, you got Trey Sanders, all add depth and a lot of talent to this running back room for Alabama. Henderson's not going to be expected to step in and be a day one starter. Day one, you got to carry this offense on your back, but he is going to add depth. He's going to have time to learn the playbook, and it's going to help with the by committee approach that Alabama's offense has taken in some recent years. And I expect him to get some looks early, but I don't expect him, to step right in and just take a spot from somebody. I think Jace McClellan, someone the coaching staff and the fans at Alabama are really excited about. And Brian Robinson is going to have his chance to shine this year. And Trey Sanders is no joke, and I think he's real nice. And they have a few guys banged up too, so watch that. But in the SEC, the story is depth you have to have depth. You have to have depth to win. You have to have depth to compete because the brutal SEC schedule, you're going to have players banged up. You're going to have talent. You're going to have experience and players ready to go if needed. And so when that's why we've seen Alabama be so successful. When you have 4 or 5-star players that would start for most teams sitting on the bench, when you have a guy go down, you have just a quality replacement. Yeah, you might not be able to replicate the reps and the experience, but you have an experienced player that can step right in and make a significant impact. I don't really rank commitments, but if I had to, you got to give this an A. Anytime you land a 5-star top 30 player in the country, that's an A right there, especially in March. Guys, if you remember last March, people were having conversations about whether Nick Saban was washed up, whether Nick Saban forgot how to recruit, because this recruiting class was one of the worst in the country. It had like 1 or 2 commitments. But here we are, and they have the number 14 class in the country. They got multiple players committed, 2 5-stars that are going to come in and compete. I think Nick Saban is making a statement. He comes in, wins a natty this year, gets a wide receiver, a Heisman. He's now had 2 running back Heismans, a wide receiver Heisman. That quarterback one could be soon with Bryce Young. I think Nick Saban is making a statement here. Emmanuel Henderson, though, 5-star running back, commits to Alabama. And this is probably going to be a big SEC episode, but let's head down to Baton Rouge, talk about this QB battle. This is going to kind of be a recurring segment. We're going to kind of take a look around as spring practices go on at who's the favorite, what's going on in these QB battles. I don't know if there's a bigger one right now than the LSU quarterback battle. And spring practice, like I said, begins around the country this week. LSU was Tuesday. I know Auburn was earlier this week too. The LSU Tigers are looking to rebound from a pretty abysmal season. A lot of attention is going to be on that defense, which was historically bad this past year. But they also have a huge quarterback battle raging this spring between 3 quarterbacks who all started at different times this year. Each quarterback started at least a game or 2. And Coach Ed Orgeron was asked about this, and he said that the competition is wide open and that he's going to let the best man win. And so you look at what they have. They have Miles Brennan, TJ Finley, and Max Johnson, all 3 who started last year. They all have varying levels of experience. They have their own strengths and weaknesses. So let's break these down here. Brennan was the original starter for the 2020 season. He performed extremely well. He had an abdominal injury, but there's a lot of questions about his long-term health. My co-host Brandon, real tuned in with LSU and what's going on there, has said that there was some rumors that Brennan might not be able to ever play football again. Whether that's solved or not is to be seen, but that's a big question mark going into spring is how he progresses throughout the offseason. Is he going to be ready to take the field week 1 when the Tigers suit up for their season opener? I don't know. I don't want to make a health judgment. I'm not a doctor, but that's something you got to be concerned about. In 3 games last year, he threw for over 1,100 yards, 11 passing touchdowns, 3 interceptions. The kid was balling. The offense and this passing attack wasn't the problem for LSU. It was that defense. And Brennan's the most experienced option. He's arguably the most talented in terms of just what he can do. But, let's move on here. TJ Finley. He was the next quarterback to step up at the QB1 role last season. But, man, he exploded onto the scene against South Carolina. Everyone was over the moon about this kid. And then it all kind of fell apart going in that Auburn game. He really, really struggled in the biggest moments. In 5 games, guys, 900 passing yards, 5 passing touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. He struggled with accuracy. He was the least accurate of all 3 of these options. He had the most turnovers, had the least number of yards, and the lowest amount of touchdowns. The thing that saved him is, man, he's just a physical specimen that is athletic. And, he's like 6'5". He's big, built. He's a smart kid, but it just seemed like the moment was too big for him. His youth really showed last year, his inexperience, but he showed flashes of his potential, like in the South Carolina game when he put on an absolute spectacle in his first real – I think that was his first real start, if I remember right. The big questions of this offseason, though, is Can Finley improve his accuracy, his decision making, and his pocket presence to really make an impact? LSU is going to have that. If they're lacking at the QB position, I don't know if they can take that step forward that everyone's expecting them to after a real down year last season. And the final candidate, man, I'm really excited about this kid actually. Max Johnson, he was the final QB to take over the Tigers offense last year, but he showed probably the most promise out of the two young guys. He led the Tigers to their upset win over Florida on the road in the swamp with Florida having everything to play for, LSU having nothing, everything on the line. In 6 games, he threw for over 1,000 yards, 8 passing touchdowns, a pick, just 1 interception though, and then 2 rushing touchdowns. He consistently showed he could rise to the occasion. People forget he was the one quarterback to score a touchdown in Jordan-Hare against Auburn as well. He showed much more maturity than I think most true freshmen around the country could show in that moment. And you have to think about this. Okay, he's an extremely talented freshman. I get that. But when he was thrown in, it was such a tough, difficult time, full of turmoil, opt-outs, wondering what's going to happen with Coach O, wondering what's going on with LSU. This kid just took it all right on the chin, takes his team down to Gainesville, and pulls off a huge upset in which he plays phenomenal, probably one of the best games we've seen of an LSU quarterback since Burrow left. I think Max Johnson is a super, super talented kid, a super promising guy, and I think he is the future of the LSU quarterback position. But can he overtake Brennan for the QB1 role this year? I think in 2022, probably he's the guy to go with. And so right now, in terms of who I think should be the starter, who should be the favorite at least, Max Johnson took first-team QB reps so far in spring practice. But Coach O has came out and said the reps are going to be split pretty evenly. He said this was an open competition. The best man is going to win. For me, though, with the health, I guess, concerns surrounding Brennan, and also the inexperience and the poor performances we saw from Finley, I think Max Johnson is the obvious guy to go with here for your season opener. But the X factor is Miles Brennan going to be fully healthy? Because if he's fully healthy, this could be a 50-50 kind of shot here. It's going to be a 2-horse race, though. I think it's going to be Brennan in his health versus Max Johnson in his progression. This kind of leaves Finley sort of to kind of sort out his future, figure out what he needs to do. Is he going to be okay with being a backup role right now? Is he ever going to get a chance to shine with Finley being in his class, probably taking the majority of the first team reps? I don't know. He's a very talented kid. I think there'll be other opportunities elsewhere. I would imagine Finley probably transfers, but that's to be seen. That's a big jump, I understand, but I think he's too talented just to be sitting on the bench. I just think the spotlight last year really hurt him. Where's his confidence at? And, the big X factor for him is how far can he progress in one offseason? They didn't have a spring last year. They didn't have really a fall or a summer. Max Johnson overcame that, had an outstanding end of the year. Can TJ Finley kind of have that this year? If they all improve, it's going to be an interesting race. But if I had to put my money on it right now on this show, I'm going Max Johnson as the starting quarterback for the LSU Tigers this year. But, guys, that is a wrap on the 2-minute drill for today. We don't have a normal episode out today, but go ahead and catch up if you haven't caught any of our episodes this week. We had an amazing interview with Aaron Brightman from Rutgers that came out yesterday. That is one that you were going to want to check out. He was one of my favorite guests, man. Me and him had an absolute blast. And then also Patrick Herb for Wisconsin was released Monday. That was a dope interview as well. Also, you can go back and catch all our Big 10 and 31 days on there. ACC in 28 days. The playlist is on our YouTube channel and available anywhere you can listen to this podcast. But guys, y'all know I got a plug. I mean, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Turn on that post notification in your top right. That way you can be notified anytime the Bluebloods drop any sort of content, a 2-minute drill, another mock draft, an interview, anything. We appreciate y'all just hanging with us, getting y'all's college football information from us. I love doing this, man. I love doing this for y'all. So make sure to subscribe, support us if you can. I would appreciate it. Guys, tomorrow, another 2-minute drill episode, and we have Minnesota coming. We got Minnesota being covered on our Big Ten of 31 days tomorrow. That's a huge one. Minnesota's on the rise, top 10 team 2 years ago. PJ Fleck and the boys are looking to rebuild. But until then, guys, for myself, for the Blue Bloods, and the 2-minute drill, I'm out.